Everyone, in just a few days, we and our families will all be sitting at the Pesach table, sitting in front of a pile of matzah. And the question is, what exactly is the spiritual significance of this cardboard tasting, dry, flat, crispy bread? So what should we be thinking about as we eat the matzah? What's its spiritual significance? So I want to focus in on a few questions, a few problems in our understanding of what matzah is all about. And these problems come from the Haggadah itself. If you ask the question based on what the Haggadah says, what is matzah about? We'll find that there are certain answers that show up in the Haggadah that actually contradict each other. So for example, we start out the Haggadah by singing the famous song, Halachma, Halachma anya diachalu avhatana be'ara de Mitzrayim. So what are we saying? We're saying this is the bread of poverty. This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in Mitzrayim. Okay, so if that's the case, what's the experience of eating the matzah? The experience of eating the matzah is reminding ourselves of the suffering, of the poverty that we felt as we were slaves in Mitzrayim. The problem is twofold. Number one, we contradict that idea a little bit later on in the Haggadah. Later on in the Haggadah, we read, Rabban Gamliel haya omer, kol shelo amar shlosha dvarim elu, b'Pesach lo yatsa yidei chovato. Rabban Gamliel says there are three things you have to talk about at the Seder: the trio, the triumvirate, right? The Pesach, the Matzah, and the Maru, right? And when we get to Matzah, the question Haggadah asks is, Matzah al Shuma, why are we eating Matzah? And the Haggadah quotes the pasuk in the Torah that says, Al Shum shelo hispik b'tzekam lachmitz, that because we were rushed out of Mitzrayim, the Egyptians tried to force us out. Lo hispik b'tzekam lachmitz, our dough didn't have a chance to rise, and for that reason, it became matzah instead of regular bread. The implication of that is that the matzah is a memory not of our suffering, but rather it's a memory of the speed with which we were taken out of Mitzrayim. And the focus then would not be on the geula, it would not be on the suffering, it would rather be on the nature of the geula itself. So what should our experience be? When we're eating the matzah, are we remembering what it was like to be a poor man, a slave? When we eat the matzah, are we remembering the joy and the excitement that we felt as we left Mitzrayim for the first time? Which of those two experiences are we supposed to have? There's also another problem, and this goes to the heart of what the Seder is really all about. Rabban Gamliel tells us there's three things, the trio of ingredients at the Seder table. There's the Pesach, the Matzah, and the Maru. Right? The Pesach, we know what that's about. The Pesach is about Hashem's redemption, Hashem destroying the firstborn Egyptians and saving the Jews. That's what the Pesach is about. It's about liberty, about freedom. The Maror, this is a cheap substitute for Maror. The Maror, we know what that's about. That's to remind us of the bitterness of our experience as slaves. Okay, so we've covered the bitterness of being slaves. We've covered the experience of redemption. Where does matzah fit in? If we say that matzah is to remind us of the slavery, then it's redundant. We already have the maror. Why do we need maror and matzah? So I want to suggest the following thing. I want to suggest that when we translated, wait, stop. So if that's the case, what is matzah really all about? I want to suggest that many English translations of the Haggadah totally mistranslate a crucial line. When we say halachma anya, we say this is the bread of affliction, most people assume what that means is that this is the bread that symbolized our suffering. And I want to suggest that's exactly the opposite of what the Haggadah intends us to experience. We're saying like this, halachma anya. This is the bread that we ate even as we were poor. That even though we were poor, even though we were slaves, at the very least, we had bread. We had at least the very basic subsistence, the very basic needs for survival. Things were horrible. They were bitter. And nonetheless, we survived. If there's any miracle greater than the Eser Makos, if there's any miracle greater than Kriyas Yamsuf, you know what that miracle is? It's that we survived for 200-something years of Auschwitz, and we came out alive. That even in the midst of all the bitterness, God was there behind the scenes with the life support, giving us the basic needs of survival in order to keep us alive, ready to be saved after a couple centuries of slavery. And this, perhaps more than ever, is the spiritual message of Pesach that we need right now. There are going to be good times. The good times are symbolized by the Korban Pesach. There are going to be bad times. Those times are symbolized by the Maru. But there's one thread that links all points in Jewish history. And that is the fact that God has kept us alive, has helped us to survive through all the ups and all the downs. The matzah, the basic needs of survival, symbolize the fact that even when we're suffering, God is there keeping us alive. We should be zocha to have a Pesach full of simcha, full of geula, and with the profound awareness that even in bitter times, Hashem is there behind the scenes, keeping us and all of Am Yisrael alive until next Pesach.